to the episode 5 of the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast and vlog. My name's Jo Ferreday, and in today's episode, which is episode 5, I'm going to be chatting to Alex Wallace. Alex is MD and founder of Mintridge Foundation, a charity she set up at the age of 24 over 5 years ago. Understandably, Alex was given recognition for her efforts and awarded the 2018 Sunday Times Sportswomen of the Year in the Grassroots Category, along with Woman of the Future Sport Award in 2017. Mintridge supports over 50,000 young people throughout the UK, so I know that you are going to enjoy this episode. Enjoy.
Like so many young women, I definitely suffered from imposter syndrome and doubted my own ability. Winning the 2018 Swatty Grassroots Awards has meant so much. It's been amazing, and it's really helped with my own confidence. We're a really small organisation with just 2 full-time employees, but we have really big aspirations with where we want to take the charity. This award has given us such a platform. It's spread awareness of our hard work, and it's meant that funders, athletes, schools, they take us more seriously.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast and vlog. I'm Jo Ferreday, and I'm really excited to talk to Alex Wallace. Welcome, Alex. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I just can't wait to chat with you, because I think your journey is such an exciting one to share with everyone. But for those that may not be aware of your journey to date and your backstory, just wondered if you could share with our audience a little bit about your journey to date.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here because I'm the founder of the Mintridge Foundation. We're a registered charity dedicated to supporting young people with their physical and mental well-being through professional athletes, which is just the most magical, for me anyway, it's the most magical job to be in, being in and around these absolute superstars all the time. But as you said, it's been quite a journey in terms of getting here.
Yeah.
And I think it's all stemmed from my own personal experiences, both positive and negative within sport, that I'm determined that young people have a much stronger understanding of why they take part in sport and why we do it. And that is the crux of it, is because we want everyone to enjoy it, which I absolutely did growing up. I was sports mad. I had a family obsessed by rugby, which I'm very grateful for, because I had that understanding from an early age of just how powerful sport can be. And I tried hockey at about the age of 6, and amongst other different sports, but that seemed to be the one that I really loved. But I made sure, and my parents made sure, that I played lots as well, lots of others. And I quickly realised from an early age that I wanted to play for England. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to achieve. And everyone quickly got to understand that that's who I was. That's what I wanted to do, sort of around my identity, I guess, really, that Alex, the hockey player, Alex was going to play for England. And I went through the system. I played for county, I played for regional, absolutely loving it. And I eventually got to those England trials at under 16. And that is where the whole inspiration of Mintridge came from, because I received that letter. It was a letter back in 2006 rather than an email, old school. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is what I've been working towards. And as soon as I put that letter down, it was as if something changed, and I put this internal pressure on myself. I had this huge fear of failure. I thought I would let people down if I didn't get selected, because this is all we've been working towards. I had no external pressure. I had the most supportive system in terms of my family and my coaches, but it was that there was just something inside me that
it was that internal voice.
I
Yeah.
think that so many people experience in so many different ways, and in turn I didn't get selected, and I maintain it now. I can look back and think it's absolutely nothing to do with the skills that I had on the pitch, but it was that imposter syndrome that I faced, that everyone else around me was so much better than me. They all played together really well, which is so silly of me looking back. And
hindsight's such a I mean, yeah, you could do that forever though, couldn't you? Look back and say, oh, wish, woulda, shoulda, coulda, but you experienced it, and you know that's part of you, and that's part of your story, isn't it? And
oh, absolutely. And I think with what I've gone on to do with Mintridge, that perceived failure, without that perceived failure, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, which I absolutely love so much more than hockey.
And that's so impactful, and that's your driving force, isn't it? You know, and I think completely. I'm a great believer in stepping stones, and things do happen for reasons, and it's not always that you're meant to do what you think you're meant to do. It will sometimes guide you in a completely different way. So it's one of those things. I just think it's amazing that you've gone on to do what you've done, you know, with Mintridge. So what was the main motivation for you setting up Mintridge Foundation? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
So I think exactly what you just said in terms of those stepping stones. I think all I thought about with that hockey journey was, I'm going to play for England, I'm going to sing the national anthem in front of my family. Whereas actually I didn't break that down into short-term goals. I knew what I wanted to achieve, but I didn't know how to get there. And that's one of the reasons I wasn't successful. And one of the reasons I think that I completely fell out of love with hockey after those trials. I was playing because I had to, not because I wanted to anymore. I always say that my biggest love became my worst enemy, which, again, I don't want you to feel sorry for me.
No. But that's the thing, though, isn't it? If you put, like you say, if you put so much pressure on something, it does make it become like that, because it's almost like you don't know what you're aspiring to do anymore, because what you thought was going to happen didn't actually come to fruition. So
completely. And I think if I'd had a mentor that had been there and done that and got the scars, I think I would have coped much better, and I would still be playing hockey today in any capacity. One of our ambassadors here at Mintridge, she's probably in the England netball team, she's one of the best defenders in the world, yet she didn't get into the under-17 team for England. And if I'd known things like that, I would have probably thought, oh, it is still possible, it is still achievable. But I just fell into this sense of I'd let everyone down, and that's been a huge driving force behind what I'm doing, is that I want to have that support system in place. And in the early stages of Mintridge, it was very much, let's support the talented students on their pathways in lots of different sports, because I started to talk to people and hear that they'd had quite similar experiences. But what I love is that was the starting point, but schools and clubs and organisations are using it for so much more. They're using it to help with confidence, they're using it to help with aspirations, and so many different areas, which just shows how powerful and far-reaching sport is.
It really is, absolutely. And you know, and that's the thing, isn't it? What drives youngsters. My son, for an example, he wants to be, he wants to race motor cars. He wants to be the next Lewis Hamilton.
Who won yesterday?
And that would be amazing for him. And we want to encourage him in his dream, but equally you want to make sure that he has experience of all the different elements in sports, like you say, and to understand about aspiration, and to understand about, if you don't get in that time, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It's part of the path.
Oh, completely. And I think that's a really important message that our athletes are sharing. We have a really great diversity of athletes that young people can relate to. It's not their parents delivering the messages, it's not their families. It's a successful athlete that could look like them, that's come from the same background, that is there saying, I'm really successful, but I have a second option, I have a second career, I have plans after that career, because sport can be incredibly cruel. So, and I think it also creates that life balance, which makes them more successful as well. So many different reasons.
And so Mintridge supports over 50,000 young people. And I mean, that's an incredible number. And from starting, I mean, you were age 24, were you, at the start? So you started Mintridge age 24, over 5 years ago now. And you know, you've achieved such great things, and it's understandable to know why that's the case. How has the pandemic affected your charity though? I know it's a horrible question, but but it's affected many organisations, and charities are one of the hardest hit, aren't they? You know, at this time.
Yeah. Oh, it's, as you say, it's impacted everyone so differently, and that's what I was really conscious of from the beginning, that I didn't put these emergency appeals out because businesses were affected, individuals were affected. So I had to really think about what our approach would be. I joked with my dad the other day that we are probably in the 3 biggest affected areas. We're in schools, which have been closed for the majority of the time, elite sport, which hasn't really been happening, and charity. I think if we just throw travel into the mix, I mean, what a career choice I made. but
I'm with you. We're at the events. I'm with you. I know it's not been good. It's not been good, but Grassroots are showing, so that's the main thing. But exactly. So how have you evolved at this time? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I think when it first hit and the schools closed, it was really scary, and I just thought, we've worked so hard. I felt really sorry for myself for a couple of days and talked about lots of different options, and then I thought to myself, well, the young people are arguably going to be the most affected by this pandemic as a generation, and they're going to be the ones that need the support the most. So let's realign what we're doing, let's refocus, and let's use our athletes, who now, particularly in the first lockdown, had a little bit more time because they weren't traveling. So every cloud, I guess. For us, we were being in a very selfish way there. But so we were very fortunate that we had an online program in place anyway, so we didn't have to start completely from scratch in terms of safeguarding different platforms to use. We could have those put in place, but just with a wider audience than we usually would. So rather than going into the schools, we were delivering remotely, and it has taught us a lot. So we are now seeing that there's more accessible ways to reach more schools. We can reduce costs slightly if schools can't necessarily afford the visit, because we're reducing those travel time and so on. We've had a chance to support our ambassadors more, because they've needed it a lot, particularly with their mental well-being throughout the pandemic. And we've completely refocused our fundraising. When we started, so we gained charitable status in 2018, and we tried lots of different areas for the fundraising side, and nothing was really working. And I thought, right, what are our skill sets here at the charity? My background was events, so that's where we were going to focus our attention for 2020. It was going to
bless you.
It was going to be, let's go down that route, let's go down the mass participation route, which really aligns with the charity itself. And obviously that didn't happen. So again, we've been forced to look at options that I probably never would have done, because we wouldn't have had the time. I wouldn't have thought that they would work, but we have to look at different avenues now. We can't rely on just one area. So we've had a really exciting year of fundraising with channels that we never thought we would. We've done virtual events that have supported our supporters. Not only are we supporting our beneficiaries, but they found the challenges that we've run, they found those really motivating. We've looked into more corporate partners, just areas that I didn't think a small organisation would be able to do so early. So yes, it's been tough. I'd say it's been tough for everyone, but definitely allowed us to slow down and look at the bigger picture, which I'm always guilty of. Head down, as we were saying before we started recording, head down, go, nitty gritty day to day. Actually take a step back, because that is my role now as we're growing the team. I don't have to be involved with the day to day. That is managing itself with some great colleagues. So yeah, it's
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Being able to be agile, being able to adapt to the situation. And as horrible as some of it's been, there have been some real gems of things that have come out of the pandemic. You know, we've all, like we were saying, we've been looking up and looking out and seeing more, rather than being stuck in our rat race and, you know, just chundering along. You know, we've been open to considering options that we maybe would never have done before. So you can't, you know, that's not a bad thing. It's, you know, it just shows that you've been receptive to making sure that you can still keep ticking along, which is what you want, isn't it, really?
Exactly. It's that ticking along. We're not where we wanted to be, we're not hitting the targets we wanted to do, but let's again just look at the perspective.
Well, think about the extra layers that you've got. So then you've got the extra layers, and then add that to what you were going to be doing. It's, you know, I think it can only, you know, get greater. And you obviously, as an individual, you know, you've had recognition. So tell us more about your Sunday Times Sportswoman of the Year that you won, and your other accolade as well, which you that was Sportswoman of the Year in the Grassroots category, wasn't it? And then Future Sport Award. So tell us more about those things.
Oh yeah, I love talking about these because it's the stardust of our line of work. So in 2017, I was amazed to be awarded the Women of the Future Award in the sports category. It's an incredible network across so many different businesses, so many different organisations, so many different individuals that you just wouldn't normally see in a room together, from art and culture to media to professions and then sport. And I was just, what it did for the charity, it just put us up on this new pedestal of recognition, which was huge. And I didn't anticipate winning, which can probably be seen when I had my acceptance speech and I just waffled and cried a bit more and then have no idea what I said. So I probably repeated myself.
Doesn't matter, it's fantastic, you know, it's great recognition, really well deserved.
Oh, thank you. So that was amazing. And now a real network that I'm involved in, and the alumni within the Women of the Future network help and support me so much, particularly their founder, Pinky Lalani. It's built on kindness and collaboration, which I think is often underestimated within leadership especially. So I love that philosophy, and it's something that's core to what we do here at Mintridge. So that's a wonderful, wonderful network. And then the year after, it feels so surreal that these two accolades happened, but I was shortlisted and then eventually won the Sunday Times Sportswoman of the Year award in the Grassroots category. And again, there's a very common theme tonight, because I always say I need to enjoy the journey more, rather than just thinking about the destination. I'm a big fan of all these cheesy quotes. I'm with you. But I think I hadn't done that until that evening, and all I was thinking about was, I'm not going to win, I'm not going to win, I'm not going to win. Just, but actually, I had an email the day before the awards. They said, what time would you like to come into hair and makeup? I was like, what? Never had this before. Like, this was just completely alien to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll come in at 4, la la la. My mum came with me, and they handed me a glass of champagne when I walked into the room to get my hair and makeup done. And at that point, that was the first time that I eventually said to myself, right, it doesn't matter what happens tonight, just go and enjoy this. You're going to be in a room of some of the highest achieving athletes in the country. Just go out and enjoy it. And that's what I did. And I was getting selfies with Dina Asher-Smith. It was and the outcome was that I also won. And I just think there was a belief in what we were doing on both occasions. Really deep down, we know what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve huge and really needed.
And that's the thing is, you know, like you say, you soak up that recognition because it's really well deserved, and you know, I think it's important to embrace it. You know, you've won it for a reason, and you know, you know, for what you've achieved. So over the years, you've partnered with a lot of ambassadors. You work with many, you know, today. Can you give us a couple of examples of the athletes that have supported you right from the word go?
Yes. Well, I can't talk about anything from the beginning without talking about Marilyn Okoro, who is an 800 meter GB Olympian, and she's actually a medalist from the 2008 Games, where she actually got her medal 10 years later. But that's another story, probably for another podcast. And she was our very first ambassador, and one of the biggest motivations behind how I could see the program working and how I could see elite athletes bridging that gap with youth. I was fortunate enough in a previous role to work at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. I was in the Team England clubhouse, which is where the athletes would come to be with their families, away from the media, away from the athletes' village, just to have a complete relaxation time. And my role was to stand at the door, not be starstruck, not let the press in, which, as you probably just heard, I'm not good at, because
it's really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, yes, so that was really difficult, but I loved it. And just to see the athletes in their environment and be so close to them, it was amazing. And one of the athletes themselves was Marilyn, who would come in every day, and she would just have the warmest smile, greatest energy, just wanted to hear about my day, hear how we're doing. And I just remember thinking, I should be asking
really
you.
Nice.
Yeah. I should be asking you. You're the Olympian. And then I was like, she's just human. She's just a human. And I think we're so guilty, me especially as a starstruck girl from the age of 4 or 5 when I fell in love with sports, that we think these athletes are like rock stars and it's really unachievable, but actually no, it's not. So we can bridge that gap. So after the games, and I was starting to think that I wanted to go out on my own and start something up, I sent her a message. I think I found her email address on Google before I could really understand social media and Twitter and that side, which is just paramount to what we do now. I found an email. It was her old agent, and her old agent kindly sent it on to her. And I said, this is what I want to do. This is the idea. This is the vision. I'd love to meet and share more. And she loved it. And I think she could see that we were looking at the full care. So we weren't just helping the younger generation. We would be helping the athletes that are leading those programs as well. And she came on board, and she was our very first athlete. So
amazing.
Without Marilyn, I wouldn't have had a product.
You wouldn't have been started. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that backing. But I think it sounds like Marilyn's very, very much, like you said, very human, warm, receptive, and that's exactly what you need, isn't it, from your ambassadors? You need that. So to have that from the start is amazing, isn't it? To be able to run with it, definitely. Who and what inspires you, Alex?
Well,
and that's a really hard one, I know, because I'm sure there's lots of things and people that do, but it's, you know, you're more than welcome to mention a couple of things if that makes it easier.
No, I think in terms of running an organization and having the dream and having the hunger to do it, I'm so grateful that I grew up in a quite an entrepreneurial family and a supportive family, which has meant that I've always seen it as quite natural for what I'm doing and going on my own rather than going down a normal route.
Yeah.
My parents and my brother have always allowed me to sort of be who I want to be. I didn't go to university. I didn't follow that normal route that lots of my school friends did. And for that reason, I'm inspired by them daily, but also they are the supportive. So they give me that perspective a lot, and they give me the importance. And I think I've only realized that in the last couple of years, particularly as I've got nephews now who they inspire me because, one, I want to be a great role model to them, but also they tell me to stop because I want to go and have a day with them and look after them and run around the garden and be silly, which is just as important as sitting behind your desk for a day doing
it really
emails.
is. Yes.
Yeah. So my family are huge, and I'm so grateful for them, for both the inspiration but also the perspective.
Yeah.
But in terms of sporting inspirations, there's so many.
Oh, there's a whole range, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always share growing up, my inspiration was Johnny Wilkinson, and he won the World Cup for England in the dying seconds. I loved his devotion to his team and his just meticulous training regime. It was what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. But again, that was an inspiration because I now look back and think, why was Johnny my inspiration? Why wasn't a female hockey player? But it was because those female hockey players were really hard to see and really hard to reach when I was growing up because they weren't there in the media, which is changing now. We're at a really exciting time for women's sport.
Yeah.
But I didn't have those relatable role models. So the inspiration for me is ensuring that every young person has someone that looks like them, is from a similar background to them, that they can directly relate to.
Yeah.
So I always look back at that and ensure that we have a huge diversity.
It's so important, isn't it? And like you say, for children to be able to have that conversation and understand that that they're not superhuman. Although sometimes I wonder when I look at all the stats and I think, how did you achieve that time or that jump or that, whatever you've achieved? Yeah. It's amazing, but equally that's possible if you believe and you have the right things in place.
I think the belief is the biggest thing, and that so many young people they have similar to what I had, and if you believe it, you can go on to aspire to be whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great message. What message of hope can you give to our audience for 2021? There's been a whole year of ups and downs. I think we've all hung our heads, and equilibrium has definitely been. It's been up, it's been down, it's been all over the place. But there's grassroots signs of a recovery and a start back into some kind of normality post-pandemic. I know we're not quite there yet, but it's almost in distance. Yeah. What message of hope could you give our audience?
To me, I had a really great call on Friday with a group of leaders within the sports industry, and it really hit home to me, a message that I'm always trying to convey, but I don't necessarily listen myself. And this made me stop and listen. And that is that we all just need to acknowledge our feelings so much more. We're all going to have good days. We're all going to continue having bad days that we've experienced more so than ever in the last year. And that's okay. That's normal. And everyone is doing it. The Olympians are doing it. They're, the top leaders, somebody openly said, she had a huge meltdown when the announcement that schools were closing again. It's a completely normal reaction, and I think often we're so hard on ourselves that it makes the situation so much worse. And I think if you acknowledge it, you check in with your feelings, both positive and negative, that will allow you to realize that it is hope, and your mind is tricking you into thinking it's getting worse and worse, but actually the hope is on the horizon. And I think it's just important to remember that, to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, and I think also what I've found, I don't know about you, but I've stopped thinking way too far in advance. We have client bookings and inquiries for later this year into next year, and that's brilliant and that's great, and we'll manage them accordingly. But for us personally as individuals, going too far in advance and not knowing exactly what's going to happen, it almost creates an inner turmoil in itself, because you're sort of like, well, I want to do this, but I don't know if that's possible. And then how do I do that? And you sort of get yourself into such a frenzy. So I purposely have avoided looking at the news too much, to be honest.
Yeah. Because it's about being so present.
What you can control yourself and what you can do something about, and what is outside of your control, there's not much you can do. So it's better to just not park it, be aware of it, like you say, but and acknowledge it, but don't think that you have to make those decisions because it's impossible to make them. There's, you've no control over them. So
massively control the controllables, as all our athletes say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's next for you? Come on, tell us your aspirations for this year and beyond. What have you got planned?
Oh, well, we are just so excited that we're getting bookings now for being back in schools properly, not just in the virtual world.
Yes.
So we're really going to enjoy this summer term. We know that not everyone will be allowing us in because of their different policies. Yeah. But again, like we've just said, we're taking it one step at a time. We're reanalyzing, and hopefully this summer term will build where we can get back to normal in terms of our program delivery, while also offering the virtual programs as well. And then from September, our aspirations are that we want to continue to grow, and we want to be accessible and affordable to every school in the country.
Amazing.
So that goal hasn't changed. It's just probably COVID has put a little halt in the timescale.
It's how you reach them though, isn't it? And I think because you've now got the virtual option, it's like you say, maybe the schools haven't got the budget for someone to physically get there. And if that's not the case, then you can roll out the virtual option. And that's just brilliant, because that means you've got two ways of reaching them rather than just the one. So it's great. And, I just think there's nothing better than having options and being open to and agile enough to flex with how things have been. So I do wish you every success with it. Are there any initiatives that you're running at the minute that we could share links for? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've got lots of virtual challenges. We've got one that's just finishing, which was running a marathon in a week, but we're about to launch the second month of that, which will be a group challenge. So I'd love to share that with you, with another holiday destination as a prize. Which is good. Yeah,
I might get a group of my friends on that. Yes, definitely share the links. We'll. I'm a keen runner. I love running. I'm not sure I could do a full marathon in a week.
It can be walking.
If it's a group activity, then I think that's definitely achievable. So definitely share the info, and we'll share all the links and things. But every success for the rest of the year, and it's been lovely chatting with you. And I'm sure there'll be lots more for us to. I'm sure you'll be a guest on at some point again soon. But thanks ever so much, Alex, and take care.
Thank you so much, Jo. Really enjoyed it.
Bye. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us to date, Alex. I know our audience will be really enthralled with all of your journey so far. So thank you again for being such a great guest. I hope that you're enjoying the Sheer Business Inspiration podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will find all of the previous episodes and those to come. Also, we are on social media, so if you would like to follow Sheer Edge, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter and Pinterest. So it'd be great to see you there, and if there's any feedback or thoughts you'd like to share about the podcast, we'd love to hear them. Our next guest is Ollie Magnus. He is CEO of Magnus Group, and he will be sharing with us his journey to date. His story is an interesting one, so I know you would love to hear more about it. But I'm not going to give the game away at all. So hope you enjoy.